All right, let me give you some examples. Um, um, People have often pointed out that, and I don't. This is a little. I think Shakespeare is more complicated than this, but some people would claim um, that Shakespeare's plays, like Hamlet, for example, get everybody to care about and feel bad for kings. There's something to be said for that. A lot of Shakespeare's plays are about kings, and a lot of those kings will often talk on stage about how hard it is to be the king and how difficult and how much responsibility it is to be the king. And that's a strange thing to ask a bunch of poor people to do, to feel bad for the mega rich dude that runs the country. But a lot of Shakespeare plays, I mean, I think they're more complex than this, but Adorno would probably say that Shakespeare's plays were helping to kind of brainwash the whole culture into sympathy and feeling bad for rich and powerful kings. Because he has a whole bunch of plays about kings. And yes, he has bad kings, but then they were plays by a good king. He doesn't have a single play where he has a king and they decide they're not going to have kings anymore. Instead, they're going to have a democracy. That doesn't happen. That's not a thing in any Shakespeare play. He actually has one play where characters are they want a they're sort of in a democracy, and a lot of people get to vote, and it's terrible. The Shakespeare in the play, the people who are the democratic public, the voting people, are shown to be complete fucking morons. And you might end that play and be like, boy, democracy, that's a terrible idea. Let's stick with this king thing. And so that's what Adorno would probably say about Shakespeare, is that all of his plays in which you feel bad for the king and how difficult Hamlet's life is, how difficult, all of this, the intra-palace intrigue and the suicide. Don't we feel bad? Kings have it so hard. We should do our best to support them and help them out. I think that's an oversimplification. Shakespeare's so complex and rich that I don't quite like that, but it is worth pointing out there are people who would say that Shakespeare asks poor people to feel bad for kings. Let me get to my big example with Adorno. I wish I was in front of you guys. I really miss all of you. I wish I was in front of you, because this is one of those fun moments in class that my students seem to enjoy, and now I'm going to be saying it into an iPhone. And that's not as much fun. All right, but let's do my example. So the example I have here is Iron Man, the first Iron Man movie, and also the Dark Knight Rises, which is the third Christopher Nolan Batman movie. Now, I mention these two because most of my students have seen both of these movies. They've seen Iron Man 1 and they've seen Dark Knight Rises. So what I would ask you to do is try to remember what these movies are about. Okay? Iron Man is the story of a very wealthy guy. How did Iron Man get his wealth? Did he work hard and earn it? No, he did not. He just inherited it from his dad. Okay. Now he realizes his dad made weapons, and he tries to fight against those weapons. He becomes Iron Man. He wants to clean up the world and make things good. And in the end, the last half hour of the movie, though, is about a guy from his own company, Ezekiel Stane, takes his company away from him. And the last section of the movie is him fighting Ezekiel Stane. Now, why is he fighting Ezekiel Stane? Because he wants control of his company back. Okay. And that is the story of Iron Man. And he defeats the bad guy and takes control of his company. Let's go over to Batman Dark Knight Rises. If you know Dark Knight Rises, Bane shows people of Gotham, take back your city. Bane shows up in Gotham City, and he tries to kind of overthrow the whole city. One of the things that Bane does is he destroys the stock market. Now, this causes Batman, who's also known as Bruce Wayne, to lose all his money. You guys know Bruce Wayne, Batman, is extremely rich. How did Batman get so rich? Did he work really hard? Or no, he just inherited it from his dad. And the last section of Batman Dark Knight Rises takes place on Wall Street. It was actually filmed on Wall Street, not far from BMCC. And on Wall Street, Batman is fighting. Why is he fighting at the end of that movie? Well, there's a couple of reasons, but one of the reasons that Batman is fighting so hard at the end of that movie is because Bane took all his money, and he wants his money back. He is fighting on Wall Street, which is sort of, the symbolic center of money in America. And who is he fighting in order to get his money back? Well, I'll give you a second to try to remember who he's fighting. Batman is punching homeless people in the face to get his billions back. Bane took Batman's $1 billion, And he is literally in that movie. It is a rich guy punching homeless people in the face in order to get what he wants, which is his money back. Now, that's what those two movies are about. Iron Man is the story of a rich guy, who got rich because his dad was rich, and he fights to get his riches back. I don't know if he deserves them or not. He just inherited them from his dad, but okay. Batman also, born wealthy, got money from his dad, and he fights, punches homeless people in the face to get his money back. And that's what those two movies are about. And everybody enjoys them. They're great movies. They're very enjoyable. People have a good time watching them, and I love them. They're fun. But here's the thing. There's something a little bit gross that the companies ask me, a regular person, to pay money because I'm rooting for these guys. These are my heroes. I'm hoping they get their money back. Did I just pay $22 to cheer for this guy, these rich guys, to get their money back? Money that they didn't even make themselves, just money they inherited from their dads? And then Adorno is going to ask the question, just where do these movies come from? Well, who owns Iron Man? Iron Man is owned by Marvel. Okay. And who owns Marvel? Disney. Who owns Batman? Batman is owned by DC Comics. DC Comics is owned by Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers is part of a massive company called AT&T Time Warner. AT&T Time Warner and the Disney Company are two of the largest, wealthiest organizations on the face of the earth. And what kind of movies are what kind of movies are Disney and AT&T Time Warner making? Well, they're made by rich guys, because the people who own AT&T, Time Warner, and Disney are extremely rich folks. So, okay, what kind of movies are they making? Well, they've made two movies in which they have asked me to pay money to hope rich white guys who didn't earn their money but inherited it get it back. Why would they do that? Well, because they're teaching me. They're teaching all of us to cheer for rich people, to hope, to be happy when rich people get to hold on to their money they did not earn, but that they inherited. And Adorno would point out that this is brainwashing. It's brainwashing the culture into loving rich guys and wanting to support rich guys. And then when it comes time to say vote, people vote for rich guys to run the country. Why? Because the movies taught them that rich white guys are awesome. Rich white guys are great. Having money is the best. If you have money, even if you just inherited it, you must deserve it. And it teaches the audience to like rich guys, to sympathize with rich guys, to imagine that they are rich guys, because that's going to help them support rich guys. Who makes these movies? Rich guys. And so as much as I enjoy these movies, over and over and over again, there's an awful lot of movies in which I am asked to cheer for powerful, rich, white dudes. Now, of course, you're probably thinking of a million exceptions, and there are a million exceptions. But I want to point out the ways in which most people watch those two movies and they didn't even notice that was what was happening, but that they're made by very wealthy people to teach the American public to care. Here's another way of thinking about it. Movies that feature rich people in them are often teaching people how important money is. That's a really important thing, because if you think money is really important, it means that rich people can control you. See, because then they can hire you, and then if you need money, if you think money is the most important thing in the world, what they're going to do is they're going to say, oh, do you need money? Do this for me and I'll give you money. Come to work, do this kind of job, do this kind of job, do this kind of job, and you will get paid. And as you know from the movies and music and TV shows, getting paid is the most important thing. And then you'll do anything that they want because they taught you that money really matters. So this is Adorno's point about cultures, that is essentially a brainwashing tool. And it's not just about money and rich people. It's about all kinds of things, about where women belong in society. Movies have a lot of things to say about that. And yes, there are movies that are trying to say other things, better things. But it's complicated. When you sit down and look at a lot of movies, you'll find they contain a lot of very sneaky, kind of troublesome ideas. Okay, I'll pick it up in the next video.